Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is November the 28th, 2025. Hopefully this episode finds you well, in good spirits and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Friday to ya. Hopefully this episode finds you in a good place, in a good space, and hopefully you're feeling that Friday energy, whether you're listening to this on a Friday or a Monday, whatever day it is. Gotta say sorry up top. I missed you on Thanksgiving. We're gonna go ahead and do a little recap there, so we'll get all caught up. But yeah, just wound up kind of feeling like on the day there was like one news story that I wanted to cover. Everything else felt like literally yesterday's news. It would just be an update. I was tired, could have used some rest, so I took some rest. That's just kind of how the day went. So, so it goes. Sometimes you take a day, sometimes you take a little break. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and run it from the top on Thursday, Old Turkey Day, and then we'll run it through Friday, and then we'll be all caught up. So yeah, we got up. It was nice to not have to go to work, though I will say I think I only slept in an extra, 40 minutes, past what my normal wake up time would be. And I think I went to bed late anyway. So, it is what it is, kind of net neutral on sleep. But overall, it felt good to just wake up, kind of chill for a second, go to the gym. Now, it wasn't a bit of a deadline just because I knew I needed to be in and out of the gym before 1 o'clock because they were going to close early. So I was like, all right, that's fine. We can definitely work with that. So I got in around like 9:30. I think I left around like 12. Yeah, something like that. So we did good work. Overall, it was kind of like a medium heavy lift. Overall hit all the spots. So that was good. Solid W workout. Came home, felt a little bit tired. Like I said, the news wasn't really looking like what I really wanted to cover. I was like, let's just go ahead and sleep, and then we'll wake up. We'll see what time it is, see where we're hitting, see what's going on. Because I knew I had Thanksgiving plans with family friends later on in the day. So I get up, and I think I wind up like after maybe sleeping about 2 hours or so, I'm hanging out for like another hour in bed, and I'm just like, yep, I think we're just gonna slowly but surely get up, get ready, and go ahead and head out for the Thanksgiving, night. So that's what I did, which, overall I think was right. I think it was the right call. Felt good. And, I get to my family friends, and pretty much, I think we only maybe had to wait about an hour or so. Not too bad. And, everything was ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do the best layout of all the food. I got a picture here. Let me see if I can just go ahead and pull it up. Here we go. All right. So we had turkey, we had mac and cheese, we had collard greens, we had stuffing in the bird and out of the bird, we had corn, we had green bean casserole, we had some rolls. Of course, my favorite, the sweet potato casserole with the marshmallows on top. We had also this Lebanese salad, which is really good, really yummy, really juicy. And then we also had for dessert, we had key lime pie, which I did not touch. I'm not a key lime enjoyer. And then, or at least a key lime pie enjoyer, I should say. And then we had pumpkin pie. So, pumpkin pie was good. Pumpkin pie was yummy. Though I will say I didn't eat that until today. I had so much food on the first run, on the night of, that I was just not able to have dessert. Which I will say my amount of food was like a plate and a half. But when I say a plate, I had like one main plate. Oh, and then also there was cranberry sauce, like homemade cranberry sauce, and then canned cranberry sauce. But my main plate just had like pretty much all the sides on it. Then I had a satellite plate that had the dark meat and the white meat on the turkey. And then also on that plate, there was thing of mac and cheese. And then I had a bowl of the Lebanese salad and then some stuffing on top of that because I just didn't have the room. And I was like, yeah, just put it on top of that. It's fine. It's wet with wet. I can handle it. So yeah, I mean, oh, and I mentioned the corn too. There was corn too. But yeah, so much food. All of it was so yummy. I think I had a whole plate and a half before I was like, okay, yeah, I'm tapped out. I'm done. And, that was putting me in like a food coma. So after that, we hung out for a little bit. Then I went ahead and skedaddled on home because I had to work. And I think I was maybe up for like an hour or so, and then I just pass out. So get a good amount of sleep for the next day. Wake up. I woke up like an hour early, like before my alarm for work. So I wasn't stoked about that, but kind of chilled, got up, got to work. Work was steady, but it was nice to come in and see like, hey, the buggies weren't crazy. Like, sorry, I'm losing my voice. The buggies weren't crazy. Like, it was a low amount of buggies, just a lot of skids that were remaining. And I was like, okay, we can handle that. We can work with that. It stayed steady enough that I really wasn't able to get all the skids that I wanted to get. So it goes. But overall, the day felt good. It was like a good pace. I think I will say a bit of a like frustrating thing that happened was, I'm working, pretty much the day felt normal, but it was like split into two blocks. Like we had the morning shift come in, we had the evening shift come in. So evening shift, the secondary that usually comes in, he actually volunteered. He came in too. So, we're working pretty diligently, and, the crusher, it fills up early. And of course, we're still on our mandate to keep pushing it no matter what. So we do. And at one point, the crusher makes like one of these crazy pop sounds. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And like, we didn't say it out loud, but we both felt like that's not a good sound. We should probably stop. But we just didn't, because we were just like, we felt compelled. So it's moments like that I really do hate, because I'm like, yeah, this is normally a moment where my instincts would tell me, yeah, let's not go any further, but we're going to keep going. But that being said, I think I came back after my last break, tried to run it a few more times. It just full stopped on me, and I was like, I'm just done. So I went over to maintenance and I hung out, which, full disclosure, I've been doing that for like pretty much the whole week, because I've just been like, I'm really tired and I know my secondary has it. And plus it's full. Like, it's like, we've been doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like, I'm sick of like fretting it. So that's been, that was like the day. Oh, I will say a bit of a rose for Friday. I want to put that there. Because of that block schedule that I said, there was a lead, used to be a lead for me when I was upstairs, when I used to work upstairs, foregone era. But I ran into them while I was taking my break, and they were like, Isaiah. And I was like, oh, hey. And I felt very awkward, because like, this person's a cool person, but like, they definitely have had moments, and I've told them this, where I'm like, you intimidate me. And like, you intimidate me because you remind me of like one of my parents. And like, I mean that in like a really good way, but like, you tell me to do something, I kind of 10-hut it, because you just remind me of that, of somebody, So, I ran into them, and they were like, oh, look at you. You've lost so much weight. You look good. Great. I was just like, and I was so awkward, and I was like, oh, thank you so much. I've been and, but that was nice. It was a very wholesome interaction. It was good seeing them, and it was good to get that compliment. You know what I mean? So yeah, we take that in the bank. So that was a bit of a silver lining for, a bit of a, I don't want to say it was a bad day, but just like, a little bit of shmee-shmer. But I was happy to go in and make some extra money, because this was a volunteer day, and I got to make a little bit of overtime pay on top of my holiday pay, if you will. So yeah, that was cool. So yeah, post work, I was supposed to go right to the gym. That's the usual idea. But I will say, because of all the food, my stomach was on overload. I was not feeling great. Had a bit of, bowel issues, if you will. Not to get too candid, but, it just wasn't over. And I was like, I'm going to take a pit stop at home. So I did that, which kind of bumped down the time, which kind of had me in the mood of like, hey, I'm going to go in and just do a modified workout. But then another half of me was like, no, I'm going to do the whole thing. Who cares, man? We're going to make it happen. We can do it. And I come in, as I come in, I see that it's pretty slow. I'm like, it looks pretty dead, like, which makes sense. People are still in holiday mode. Perfect. So I'm going to get in, actually maybe crush it. And I get in, get a Smith machine, do a full heavy sets, all my heavy sets on that. I'm like, yeah, awesome. And then I get done and I go to the free weights, and I see everyone's on a bench, and I'm like, what? No, what are you, you guys are all just over here? And it kind of just like broke my stride. And I was like, yeah, we're doing a modified workout today. So I do some core work. I do some like heavier fill work is kind of what I tell myself. And then I do like 15 minutes on the Stairmaster. And I more or less am able to get out at the same time I normally would, which was cool, but like kind of lame because I pretty much I think only worked about an hour, you know. So not my strongest showing, not, you know, the most progress ever made in a day, but so it goes. You know what I mean? We'll call that a rest day. Call it a bit of a rest week because I kind of feel like I've taken a few of those for this little holiday week of ours. Oh, and then also I did have what are they? I forget what they're called. No, they're not the ding dongs, but the circular, the Hostess cakes, the chocolate cakes. I think we got like the Kroger brand version or like the off brand version. They were called Dolly cakes or whatever. But I did have those for my snack at work because I was just like kind of fiending them, and I already knew I'm like, your diet's already fucked for this week, so like let's just have them. Let's just have them. So yeah. We did all that. That was my workout. I come home. I did have the pumpkin pie, and I had a little bit of extra sweet potato casserole that I put some whipped cream on both of them things. That was yummy. Love that for me. So yeah, I mean that was my Thursday. That's been my Friday. It's been the whole kit and caboodle. You're all caught up on my Joneses there. I know it took us a little bit. But let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into some news. Mostly updates, but I did have a bit of a zinger of a story to close this out on, but I'll save that for later. All right. Now, first story is an update on the Hong Kong tower fires. I think the last, episode we had mentioned that the death toll, I believe, was in the 40s. It has now risen to 128. So let's go ahead and read this highlighted portion here. This is from the BBC. Hong Kong tower blocks fire. Death toll rises to 128. At least 128 people are now known to have died in a devastating fire that engulfed multiple high-rise buildings in Hong Kong. 8 people have been arrested on suspicion of corruption over their renovation works the blocks had been undergoing before the fire. 3 others were detained earlier on manslaughter charges. So I know already some evidence has come out is that they had like these tarps that were put over like the buildings, and it was known that these were not fire resistant. So it's like, okay, that's definitely something that's concerning. That's a problem. And they were just on there kind of waiting for something like this to happen. And then it happens. I think there's been other details and stuff that are, slowly coming out and also out. But, I'm sure this is going to be another story, or I'm sure this is going to be a story that we're going to be coming back to. So I just wanted to hit that blurb. Also, it's so frustrating. I just want to make this aside. It's something that's definitely an obstacle and a hurdle, and I don't want to cry about it too much because you should always be able to find a way, and usually I am. But it definitely sucks that more news sites are going out of their way to paywall content. It's very frustrating. Look, I get it. Everybody's struggling. Things are hard, and you do your job, and the next thing you know, you're getting sued by Donald Trump. Yeah. I get it, but I don't think that is an excuse to say, hey, we're going to pay, we are a public facing thing, like the BBC, or Reuters, whatever. I know I fuck them up, but even Bloomberg, I feel like it's like, hey, yeah, we're providing this news service. News is important, but we're also going to paywall it because we need your money that badly. It's like, man, I don't know. I just think it's fucked. I think it's lame. I mean, part of my shtick is like, hey, I want to talk about the news with people. I know I'm not actually, a reporter, journalist, whatever, but like I do try to at least have the mantra of like the things that I talk about, I want it to be available. Anything that I paywall is just like fun shit. It's just like offbeat shit that you could already find anyway, or I've already talked about in the main. Like I try to make that a standard, and I don't know. I think it sucks sometimes when I see something like the BBC just be like, nah, you gotta pay us like $10 a fucking month, or you can't read this article that we posted like, not even a whole day ago. I don't know. That's a bit of a soapbox that I need to hop off of. Anyway, another issue where this happened was once again from the BBC, but in Guinea-Bissau. We talked about that. Once again from the BBC, Guinea-Bissau's ousted President Umaro Sissoco Embalo flees to Senegal after coup. I know though that you can read from Al Jazeera, which I'll give them fucking props for. You can read the whole article there, no charge. So hell yeah to that. But worth mentioning, just because a lot of turmoil, or a lot of turmoil, whatever. Post the coup, and I didn't know where he was. What was his fate? So it does look like he is in Senegal as of right now, and I believe the general of the group that took over, I don't have the name readily available, but he has assumed control in this like temporary turnover period. So yeah, I mean, obviously more to be talking about in the future, of course. Yeah, that's kind of the situation of affairs there. Let's go ahead and take it, though, to the United States. And we did have the National Guard shooting in Washington, D.C. that I wanted to do a little bit more digging into, a little bit more coverage on. So, yes, from the Associated Press. Suspect in shooting of National Guard members faces murder charge as U.S. halts all asylum decisions. Charges against the man accused of shooting 2 National Guard members has been upgraded to first-degree murder after one of the soldiers died, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia announced Friday, while investigators continue to seek a motive and the U.S. government announced a halt to all asylum decisions. Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, 20, and Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf, 24, were hospitalized in critical condition after the Wednesday afternoon shooting near the White House. Trump announced Thursday evening that Beckstrom had died. U.S. Attorney Janine Pirro's office said the charges against Ramanola Lakanawal, I'm sure I'm fucking that up, a 29-year-old Afghan national who worked with the CIA during the Afghanistan war, now include 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of assault with intent to kill while armed. So that's a big update, right? Obviously, yes, the murder of Beckstrom, that's sad, that's unfortunate. But up until that point, we had only known that this was a person of Afghan descent, and you're kind of left to just assume or infer whatever from that. 2 National Guard members have been killed, and you have Donald Trump saying this is a terrorist attack. And you see that like the rhetoric, the energy is kind of ramped up from there, which we're going to continue from reading this article. But I'm at least glad that we have more details. We still don't have a motive as of yet, but it's just, I feel like these details are so fucking important, especially because we are so quick to jump to a conclusion of saying, hey, this is a terrorism thing. We need to make this feel like we're back in a 9/11, mentality, and let's act irrationally. I just feel like that is the narrative, and that is the push that happens out of these moments a lot, whether it's from our politicians, whether it's from talking heads, or just people it's just like this knee-jerk reaction. They just can't help but like be like, yep, time for me to be as like, xenophobic as possible now. And it's like, let's just actually talk about what is happening and get to the bottom of it. You know what I mean? Like that's the point of doing an investigation. I know I'm already kind of tumbling around here and we haven't even been reading, but I felt like these things are important to fucking say, because sadly we just forget about fucking history and we just keep repeating the same fucking shit over and over and over again. Beckstrom and Wolf were deployed with the West Virginia National Guard as part of President Donald Trump's crime-fighting mission that federalized the D.C. police force. The president also has deployed or tried to deploy National Guard members to other cities to assist with mass deportation efforts, but has faced court challenges. Trump called the shooting a terrorist attack and criticized the Biden administration for enabling Afghans who worked with U.S. forces during the Afghanistan war to enter the U.S. The president has said he wants to permanently pause migration from poor nations and expel millions of immigrants from the country. The director of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, Joseph Edlow, said in a post on the social platform X that all asylum decisions will be paused until we can ensure that every alien is vetted and screened to the maximum degree possible. It's like we don't even know what exactly the motive is here, and we are saying this is what we need to be doing as a country. That does not square with me. It doesn't work with me. It doesn't flow me at all. And it shouldn't flow with you. In an interview on Fox News, Pirro said there are many charges to come beyond the upgraded murder charge. She said her heart goes out to the family of Beckstrom, who volunteered to serve and ended up being shot ambush style on the cold streets of Washington, D.C. Pirro said officials have been working around the clock to determine the suspect's motive. Investigators are executing warrants in the state of Washington, where Lochinwall lived, and other parts of the country. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth visited National Guard troops in the nation's capital Friday and led them in a prayer for Beckstrom and Wolf. Some of you may have known her, Hegseth said of Beckstrom. Obviously a beautiful human being and a great American willing to serve her country, brutally targeted. Hegseth said he and his wife briefly visited Wolf on Thursday night to be there, lay hands on him, and pray over him. Wolf remains in very critical condition, West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey said Friday. He ordered state flags to be flown at half staff in recognition of Beckstrom's death. Their courage and commitment to duty represent the very best of our state, Morrisey said. Lochinwall has been living in Bellingham, Washington, about 80 miles or 130 kilometers north of Seattle, with his wife and 5 children, said his former landlord, Christina Weidman. Mohammed Sherzad, a neighbor of Lochinwall's in Bellingham, told the AP in a phone interview Friday that Lochinwall was polite, quiet, and spoke very little English. Sherzad said he attended the same mosque as Lochinwall and heard from other members that Lochinwall was struggling to find work. Some of his children attended the same school as Lochinwall's children, Sherzad said. He was so quiet and his kids were so polite. They were so playful. But we didn't see anything bad about him. He was looking okay, Sherzad said. Sherzad said Lochinwall disappeared about 2 weeks ago. Lochinwall had briefly worked as an independent contractor for Amazon Flex, which allows people to use their own cars to deliver packages. A company spokesperson shared with the Associated Press. Lochinwall delivered packages from the end of July to the end of August and hadn't been active since. Lochinwall entered the U.S. in 2021 through Operation Allies Welcome, a Biden administration program that resettled Afghans after the U.S. withdrawal from the country, officials said. Lochinwall applied for asylum during the Biden administration, but his asylum was approved under the Trump administration. Afghan evac said in a statement. In a Thanksgiving address to the troops Thursday, Trump said that Lochinwall went cuckoo. He went nuts. Lochinwall served in a CIA-backed Afghan army unit known as one of the Special Zero units in the southern province of Kandahar, according to a resident of the Eastern Afghan province of Khost, who identified himself as Lochinwall's cousin. He said Lochinwall was originally from the province and that his brother had worked in the unit as well. The cousin spoke to the Associated Press on the condition of anonymity for fear of reprisals. He said Lochinwall had started out working as a security guard for the unit in 2012 and was later promoted to team leader and a GPS specialist. Zero units were paramilitary units manned by Afghans but backed by the CIA that also served in frontline fighting with CIA paramilitary officers. Activists had attributed abuses to the units. They played a key role in the chaotic U.S. withdrawal from the country, providing security around Kabul International Airport as the Americans and what this is as the Americans and withdrew from the country. On Wednesday night, Trump called for the reinvestigation of all Afghan refugees who had entered under the Biden administration initiative that brought roughly 76,000 people to the country, many of whom had worked as interpreters and translators. The program has faced intense scrutiny from Trump and others over allegations of gaps in the vetting process. Even as advocates say there was extensive vetting and the program offered a lifeline to people at risk of Taliban reprisals. Beckstrom had enlisted in 2023, the same year she graduated high school, and served with distinction as a military police officer with the 863rd Military Police Company. The West Virginia National Guard sent a statement. She exemplified leadership, dedication, and professionalism, the statement said, adding that Beckstrom volunteered to serve as part of Operation DC Safe and Beautiful, helping to ensure the safety and security of our nation's capital. The president called Beckstrom an incredible person, outstanding in every single way. Okay, that's the whole article. And I mean, we're definitely not done with the story. We are just touching the tip of the iceberg. But I don't know. I find it very fucking telling that we are talking terrorism. Let's look at every brown person, every person who's not from here, who has any kind of refugee status, immigrant status. Let's look at them different. And we're not talking about the fact that, I mean, you could say more or less a CIA trained operative that we have here kind of just went snap for we don't know what reason. And, you know, now people have died. And who knows if we're going to fucking talk about that part of it. I kind of doubt it, but we'll see. We will see what comes. I don't want to point any fingers or have my speculation, you know, hat on and tight. No, but I'm saying I think it's definitely the wrong way of going about this, saying, hey, terrorism, Afghan people bad, Like, that is the worst kind of narrative. And it's just something we've literally done before. It is the same kind of thing that got us into a fucking war in Afghanistan. And it's like, yeah, nah, who cares? Because that's just the style of this administration. And let's face it, it is a thing that is very American, and not just American, but sadly a very, you could say, Western hegemony thing. But we've covered this everywhere. It's not just, you know, I don't know. This has just been a problem that I've sadly seen all over. I don't know. But anyway, we're going to move along. We have one more story that I wanted to cover, and it's getting a little soupy. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our last break, and we'll go ahead and do our last story after that. But yeah. Oh. Okay. From the Business Insider. Campbell's exec is out after rant mocking poor customers. 3D printed chicken goes viral. All right. Campbell said Wednesday that a vice president who was embroiled in a public firestorm over a lawsuit and secret recording was no longer at the company. The recording appeared to show the now former executive Martin Bally disparaging customers and colleagues and referring to the company's chicken as 3D printed. The comments were vulgar, offensive, and false, and we apologize for the hurt they have caused, the company said in a statement Wednesday. This behavior does not reflect our values and the culture of our company, and we will not tolerate that kind of language under any circumstance. The accusations about Bally were made in a lawsuit filed in Michigan on November 20th by Robert Garza, a former Campbell's employee. Garza said he was unjustly fired after complaining about Bally's conduct. Garza said he secretly recorded a conversation where Bally, then Campbell's vice president of informing technology, insulted the intelligence of Indians, belittled customers, and blasted the company's products in a profane rant. Excuse me. Whew. After a review, we believe the voice on the recording is in fact Martin Bally. Campbell said on Wednesday. I like that they did the due diligence of being like, yeah, we have to verify that this is the guy. It's like, dude, it's fucking him. You know it's him. Like, just listen. And they're like, yeah, this ain't AI. Garza's law firm provided Business Insider with a copy of the recording. It wasn't included as an exhibit in the lawsuit, and Business Insider hasn't independently verified its authenticity. They have to say that for legal reasons. Sure, I'll say ditto, but like, come on. In a sample quote from the conversation, the people in the recording said Campbell's products were shit for fucking poor people and unhealthy. Even in a can of soup, I look at it and look at the I'm sorry, let me run this back. Even in a can of soup, I look at it and look at the bioengineered meat, the person said. I don't want to eat a fucking piece of chicken that came from a 3D printer. Do you? That's such a crazy statement. Campbell's said the description of his food is patently absurd. The company said in a Tuesday statement that Bally was on leave before saying on Wednesday that he is no longer employed at the company. The remarks caused a firestorm online and caught the eye of Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer, who said he would investigate the company because of the state's ban on lab-grown meat. I do like this clash here because you have this one piece of shit CEO, and then you have the fucking Yahoo, AG from Florida, and it's like they're colliding. And I'm not rooting for either of these pieces of shits, but like I would like to know if there is some 3D printed meat. Like, was he just talking bullshit, or did he actually reveal a truth here? Did he leak? Because I mean, I don't know about y'all, but every time I'm sick, I've definitely had some Campbell's noodles, chicken noodle soup, or I've had Chunky's, which is still like in the same brand. I guarantee it's the same fucking vat. So it's like, okay, I've had the chicken. It's a little, tastes a little chewy, a little rubbery, but like, it feels really. Could it be? I don't know. Now my speculation is on. This Bailey guy's got me, Bally, whatever the fuck, he's got me wondering. But I mean, he was talking a lot of bullshit. So who can say? Let's see. Campbell said Wednesday I'm sorry, let me run this back. Campbell said Wednesday that it first heard audio from the conversation on Thursday, the same day Garza filed his lawsuit. Bally didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. So that is all we know on the fate of Campbell's and its former CEO as of now. The story was kind of making the rounds. I was seeing the headlines about maybe a week or so ago, or maybe it might have just been the top of the week. And then this came out that he was fired, and I was like, okay, I want to cover it. But not really because I cared about him getting the axe, but because of the 3D meat. It's like, wait, what? What do you mean? So yeah, I mean, big if true, scandalous if true. I would hope that the meat is at least some kind of real. But I mean, hey, it is what it is. I remember the rumor, and this was a rumor. I'm not saying I'm verifying it or anything. But like KFC uses test tube chicken, blah 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 blah. So that used to be a thing people would say. So maybe this is that. I don't know. But that's it. That's the episode. We're so back. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon, patreon.com/AzaneNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, AzaneNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to listen. Leave a like. Leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. It can be fun. 5 stars on Spotify, 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Always appreciated. But if not, that's okay. That's fine. I really just appreciate you tuning in. Really appreciate you being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.